I was in stitches watching this when he's walking away from her at the dinner, and then he says, I don't know why, but I just was crying when he's like, and I faked all my orgasms. Literally in stitches.
I think my favourite joke was the guy falls down at the baseball stadium at the end. The guy falls down a flight of stairs over the barriers onto the road. He gets driven over by a steamroller, and then a marching band goes over him. And it's like, this is perfect. And then she turns around and said, excuse me. She turned around and says, my father went the same way.
Hello everyone, joining Flixwatcher today we have Tatton.
Hello.
Diane.
Hi.
And as always, Kobe.
Hello.
And we're here today to talk about The Naked Gun. Thank you as always to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
at FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher. Hello film fans, welcome to Flixwatcher Podcast. Joining us remotely today we have Tatton and Diane. If you could please say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hello listeners, I'm Diane, and I work for Simple Politics, who you may know from our Instagram page. We write about what's going on in the world of politics, UK politics, and try and make it simple and understandable, and sometimes we do that, hopefully.
I think most of the times you do that. Would you say, Tatton?
I think that when Diane's in charge,
What
we
is
make
this?
things clear and simple and understandable. And when I'm in charge, people unfollow. But you know, that's how it rolls.
What kind of feedback do you guys get from over the years? Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you? Is like, yes, we need to keep on making sure we're doing this.
Positive feedback comes in terms of follows and reputation and shares and that kind of thing. We do occasionally get the most wonderful emails from people who say, you know, you've really helped, blah, 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 blah. But kind of verbal feedback is almost always negative. Whereas if you do something good,
yeah,
you see followers coming on board, you see shares. I mean, gosh, I'm not going to kind of clang name drop, but the famouses that have shared our stuff over the last couple of years, it's been ludicrous. I mean, not the Queen, but basically the Queen. Right.
She's not on Instagram though. But if she did, she'd be sharing.
Yeah, she'd be all over it. And they don't tag us in because that's not how this lot seem to work. But like, I'll have a friend, I'll bump into a friend and go, oh my God, like Freddie Mercury just shared your stuff. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, because I follow Freddie Mercury, right? And he was sharing it. And it's ludicrous. That kind of feedback is the positive stuff. But if we get something wrong, and that can
jump on you,
you know, typo or whatever.
Do you think that
people love a typo?
Oh, people love a typo.
I am really bad at typing. I am really bad at typing. And they just so you just have to hold on to the slightly more nebulous feedback than and ignore the verbal in your face screaming.
Do you think, are these people like hawks or what are the birds of prey that just kind of hovering there waiting for the typo mouse to scurry across the field and then it slide down?
Usernames.
Yeah. But it always feels
like
good
the
that
Queen.
they're reading this stuff. They're reading it. If they can spot mistakes, then they're reading it, and that's good.
True.
Just the last thing on that, because it's interesting, is the amount of let's give them a chance you get is so small. They probably didn't mean, I mean, the way it's been written, it might mean that they, don't like left-handed people, right? This could mean that they haven't thought about the left-handed community. It's like, or you could probably go, they hate them. Why do they hate them? Why are they so evil? And jump in and, do their thing because people are looking for that mistake, not just from us, from anywhere. They're looking to show how much they care about the left-handed community. by jumping up. They're just scouring the world for anyone who suggests that right-handed or ambidextrous people are better. And then leaping in.
I like the way you're using left-handed to indicate intolerance in a way that's more accessible, without calling out underrepresented people. I like it. But we're here talking about films today, not politics or left-handed people.
Well,
we're talking
maybe a bit of politics.
Well, there's a mayor in this, and there's the Queen.
Big fan of ours, the Queen. Big fan.
We're talking about The Naked Gun, which is your choice, Tatton. First of all, can you tell us why you chose it? And then I'll get the timer up, which is your chance to give us a synopsis in 60 seconds or less.
I chose The Naked Gun because I spent quite a lot of my time looking at very serious things, especially for the last few years, 3 years, 4 years, 5, the whole of the last 41 years of my life, just staring down the barrel of misery. And so I thought it'd be nice to come on here and chat to you about something that's just a bit silly and just a bit fun.
And synopsis?
Right, 60 seconds. 58? Come on.
Started.
So it's a very convoluted plot. So it'd be really hard to do this. A crime's been committed by a bad guy, and this hard-balled detective has to stop him. And in the middle of this, he's then being given the duty to protect the Queen on her visit to Los Angeles, and he does it.
Fine, that's fine. Diane, Helen, thoughts on The Naked Gun?
Okay, so it's one of those films that you think, oh, this is really daft. Yeah, you know. But then you find yourself literally totally laughing out loud, laughing at stuff that you thought you were way too mature for.
Yeah.
The physical comedy I found hilarious. And the questions it left me with were, oh my God, they couldn't make this now, could they? And, if they went to make The Naked Gun now in 2022, I just think, it would never get done. So that was like my big overarching thing. All of the scenes from the first one with the world leaders, oh my goodness, you just think, you'd never get away with that anymore.
That's scrubbing Gorbachev's
oh my God.
Stain off his head. No.
Yeah.
No.
And then I just kept thinking about how much of it my kids would love, but I can't show them it yet because it's too naughty on the whole.
Well, how old are you kids? Because
only 8 and 7, so
that's the perfect age.
Do you reckon?
What year did this come out?
There's very little that rude in this movie.
I thought they would understand as well.
There would be questions.
I remember watching it the first time and was like, what's going on with this safe sex massive plastic bag thing?
Yeah.
I thought that was the funniest thing when I was about 10. I obviously didn't understand why, but like rewatching it again, I had that flashback of being very young and just finding it the funniest thing ever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in it, but that scene in particular was really
that's
funny.
The worst. I think on the like watching it this week, it's the worst scene in the whole film. Like,
for me,
the two of them rubbing, like dressed in condoms, but absolutely. When I first saw it, same age as you, like hilarious. No idea why. Hilarious.
I think there's a lot. It's interesting when you watch something the first time, and as you get, I don't know, it must be 30 years later, and you're still watching and laughing, but laughing in different places. For example, and this is what Diane was saying, like, you couldn't do this in the same way without having scorn poured upon you. But the nice beaver scene, for example, I again, no idea what that meant, and I didn't find it that funny. And then there's an age where I was like 18 to 25, and it's the funniest thing ever. And now I'm like, that's a bit cheap, isn't it? And so,
do you know what? I want to talk about the nice beaver line because it kind of comes to the heart of what makes this film great. which is the fact that Leslie Nielsen is entirely straight-faced the entire film.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't make a joke.
Yeah.
Not a single joke. And so he's looking, I'm not saying it. He's looking very seriously up. Like not in a lecherous way. Not in any way sleazy. Like nice beaver. And then she pauses it.
He is like a child, and I think that's probably why when we watched it, probably a bit too young, but when we were a lot younger, that we were him. Like, we didn't know what it meant, but there was the beaver. And then as you get older, you're like, oh, I get that joke now. That's why it's funny. But also there is beaver. So it just works on so many levels.
2 levels.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of the not being able to do this now is that I think the guys who did Scary Movie, as much as I love the Wayans brothers and other iterations, I think they kind of ruined the spoof thing, because when you're doing a spoof like Naked Gun or Hot Shots, I mean, well, I know there's other people who did it outside of just Zucker, Abraham Zucker, but those guys made the spoof kind of timeless, whereas the Scary Movie guys had to make it comments on pop culture, and it was only relevant or slightly funny if you watched TV or film in the past 6 months before watching the film, and then 3 years later it's not funny. So I don't know if they've kind of killed the idea of a spoof in this kind of way.
I was just going to say, you keep saying you wouldn't be able to make this. Apparently 2013 there were talks of it happening, and again 2021 apparently Liam Neeson may be in line for a reboot. So
I mean, I say no now, but
happen.
Nielsen was a standard quote unquote actor, isn't he? So does it have to be someone with the initials LN? Maybe there's other people.
That's the
who can
rules.
fit that bill.
And it's unlikely to have OJ Simpson returning, isn't it? Really, I think that's like one of the weirdest things when you watch it, because like he's in it, like he's coming up, and then he comes on the screen, and you're like, OJ Simpson, man, times are different.
But I was amazed.
But he's really funny as well. Like his comedic time is really funny.
He's hardly in it, because I must admit I chose this one kind of with all of them kind of mixed up in my head, and then looking forward to OJ Simpson because of all that kind of, and also because I've kind of got into watching classic NFL games because anything to escape the misery of today, and the Juice was a hell of a player. He was a hell of a player, right? And you can't underestimate his celebrity, because he was only famous for being a murderer, right? Whereas in America, he was David Beckham-esque, right? That's how it got to be in the thing. But he's not in it. Like he has this amazing scene at the beginning, right? It's beautiful slapstick scene.
That had my wife in stitches when he tries to break down the door and his leg goes through. She just literally kind of fell in half.
And he's got his gun, and everyone's got the guns, and it's fantastic. But then he's not in it again. Obviously in 2 and then 33 and a third, he's kind of
a bit more.
He's equal with Leslie Nielsen. So I'm surprised by that. But also on whether it can be done today, I think Deadpool really challenges the spoof movie now. If a Marvel sanctioned movie, and actually all the Marvel movies, and in fact Star Wars now, the problem with the last 3 Star Wars is that they're kind of spoofs of themselves. Even Han Solo is making self-deprecating jokes. It's like, well, no, that's not what he does. But when everyone is so self-aware and in on the joke, it's really hard to successfully spoof it.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about who else has made good spoof films. I think when he said Star Wars, it reminded me of Mel Brooks in Spaceballs.
Oh, what a film!
He's a decent spoofer. But I think now it's kind of leans into satire. And one of your potential choices, Tatton, was Death of Stalin, and that's it's not spoof, but it's close. It's very close in some places where you just kind of think that's very close to the bone. Hardcore satire, I'd say, in that case, and some cases like with Veep as well, for example, and The Thick of It. That's where I think a lot of the comedy has kind of gone into in that kind of, not just political,
physical, more kind of cerebral in that sense.
because a lot of it is nonsense. I rewatched the Thick of It spin-off. I can't remember what it's called, the film with James Gandolfini.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it is pure, utter nonsense. And same with Veep as well. It's pure nonsense, but because it's set against this backdrop of politics than is satire, you don't have the crazy prank falls and stuff like that, but it's still, yeah. Anyway, we're going off the topic with this film. It's very funny, isn't it?
Are there, I can't think of an answer off my head, physical comedies out in the cinemas at the moment? Is there anything that's slapstick?
I think there might be some things in Deadpool, now you say it, or there's commentary on it, but...
I mean, the last person to really do it was probably Jackie Chan.
Yeah, yeah.
He tended to do the kind of physical comedy mixed in with
martial arts.
Rush Hour.
And the Shanghai Nights, Shanghai Noon films, which I quite enjoyed, which obviously kind of had a little bit of that humour in there as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think it didn't it get done to death with
Scary Movie.
Well, no, more of
not another teen movie or whatever it's
the
called.
kind of the physical kind of slapsticky stuff. I think it had a revival and then disappeared.
What was do you guys have a favourite gag from this?
There's so many. Lots of the one-liners are just brilliant, rather than the big set pieces. I do like the scene where they're in the car with the girl on her driving lesson, and when the instructor, when she's getting some abuse off another driver and he's telling her a maneuver and he's like, open your arm, lift your middle finger. That's to give the middle finger to the guy that's coming up beside her in the big lorry. I do like that, but it's more the one-liners. You're right. It's the deadpan. It's Leslie Nielsen's delivery, and there's another. I was in stitches watching this when he's walking away from her at the dinner. And he's just saying those random stuff. And then he says, I don't know why, but I just was the crying when he's like, and I faked all my orgasms. And I just literally in stitches. And it's just him, it's him. And I don't know, it plays a bit to his age, this role as well. Some of the physical comedy is so funny, the handstands and the cartwheels and stuff, because he's the older guy, and yeah, it's great.
I love the cartwheels, and when he goes into the flat and he realises someone's in there and he's doing cartwheels and somersaults and stuff, and it's just so clearly not him, but it doesn't matter in any way, shape or form.
But it's the gravitas he brings to that role by just being of a certain age, and again, it's hard to see today. The lead actor of this, maybe Liam Nielsen, but it's kind of in tribute to this, where the lead actor is an older man and just believes in himself and believes in the seriousness of his job. That makes all of it possible. None of it's possible if they come in going, why I gotta make a laugh. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be that seriousness. But my favourite joke was there's a couple. I love it when he walks in to the house and he can't disturb anything or he'll be found out, and then the document he wants is underneath the house of cards. Brilliant. And it was only, so many of these things, it's a film with such obvious gags, but it also just that was only there for a second and then it moved on. It didn't come back to it. It was just kind of done as it's obviously not subtle. It's not no one's going to pretend it's subtle, but it's as close as fast and slapstick can go to being subtle as it can be. And I think my favourite joke was the guy falls down at the baseball stadium at the end. The guy falls down a flight of stairs over the barriers onto the road. He gets driven over by a steamroller. And then a marching band goes over him. And it's this is perfect. And then she turns around and said, excuse me. She turned around and says, my father went the same way. Which is such a wonderful line.
Helen?
I've got two. It's good we've all picked different ones. This is just how rich the comedy flows. Yeah. So I really like the scene where he goes to see the guy on the docks and he asks him if it would refresh his memory, and they keep switching back the money. I don't know about that. Or how about this? Well, this that's quite funny. But then a real standout one is when he succeeds in saving the Queen, and the guy in the baseball stand goes, "It's Enrico Pallazzo," which is very clever because it's a callback. So callbacks are good, and we love a callback.
You can say that to anyone, and
they'll know what
just
film
out of
it's
context, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about. And I think for me, I'm going to pick a couple, and they're both ones which I enjoyed as a kid massively, and also enjoy now. One is when he comes off the plane after squeaking the stain off Gorbachev's head, and he starts talking to the crowd, and they're not here for you, they're here for Weird Al Yankovic's on the plane. And I used to love that because Weird Al was a hero. But my all-time favourite is still when Nordberg's there and is in a wheelchair at the end of the film, gives him a slap in the back, and he just careens down the stairs, hits the stand, and flies up as a clear dummy. And that, as a kid, had me. I probably rewound that so many times as a kid, and it still has me in absolute stitches. I love a fantastic fake dummy. I love a fake dummy person used. It's like chef's kiss. That's brilliant. But yeah, I think "I faked my orgasms" is a great line.
And the things that Nordberg goes through at the start.
In the hospital.
The two that I noted was the bear trap and the cake. So not only is it all like kind of the funny stuff, but yeah, when he gets his like in the cake, it's quite funny, and the bear trap is beautiful.
Anything you guys want to say before we head to the scores? All right, let's do it. Let's go to the scores.
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to the Flixwatcher scores. All of the scores are out of 5. You may have decimal places if you wish, and we will start with you, please, Tatton, with your recommendability.
Oh, it's just a solid 5. It's not a long film. It's a fun film. It brings joy. It's not been an easy few weeks, months, and it just made me laugh and made me very happy for 90 minutes. 5.
Diane?
Yeah, it would be a 5. A 5 with a caveat of there's probably like 1 or 2 people in the world that I know that wouldn't enjoy this. I'll probably defriend them, but yes, a 5 otherwise.
Helen?
It's very funny. I would love to watch it with someone for the first time to see how they'd react to it, because I think for me, a lot of it was a nostalgia watch and muscle memory quite a lot of the time. It's not quite a 5, a very strong 4.5, but I think if you've never seen this before, I'm not sure. I don't know. It would probably blow their mind, or they just wouldn't get it. I really don't know. It's one of those. It's a strong 4.5.
I'm going to go for 4.5. So that's for you. I'm going to go 4.75 because I have a similar kind of thing. I don't know. There's a film called Top Secret, which is by the same guys. And lots of people said it's their funniest film ever. And I hadn't heard about it. And then I watched it when I was like 35. And I was like, why is this good? Sorry. And I don't know if it is a proper nostalgia thing, watching it for the first time in simpler times. Because I know it's not just a youth thing. I think in the 80s, there was just less stuff going around. And this is more easy to go around. I would love to see this with, like you say, with Helen, someone who's never seen it before and see what I'll just be watching them.
Yeah.
Going, laugh. Is it not funny to you? I'd be really interested. So, yeah, I take it down slightly, but I think generally, yeah, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Repeat viewing score. Tatton.
Well, I'm going to. My next job is to go rewatch 2 and 33 and a third, because I'm really interested to see what happens. I suspect they won't be as good on repeat view. I suspect that it goes more into more them fooling around rather than the straight-faced stuff. I feel like they might not be as nice towards women.
There's an unfortunate incident with Anne Nicole Smith. I remember one of them.
Yeah. So I'm not expecting to watch them as much, but I mean, I will watch this again without a shadow of doubt. For
Diane,
I think I'm going to go only a 3 on this. I wouldn't seek it out. Happily watch it if it's on, or happily watch it if someone else puts it on. But I wouldn't reach for it necessarily unless I really wanted to cheer myself up.
Helen.
So I'm trying to think now, which one is it? It's the Naked Gun ones that spoof ghosts. That must be in the second or the third one. I can't remember which one it is.
I think it's the second one.
Yeah, I think
when they're together.
I wish I could remember what happened more. I'm going to have to watch the 2 and 33 and the third. I'm going to give it a solid 4 for rewatch, just purely for the amount of times that I would have watched it as a young person. And this, it's funny. It's less than 90 minutes. It's not even 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Like your commute's less than that sometimes.
Got a horrible commute.
Yeah. Commute's more than that.
I'm going to go for 5. I think like Diane said, I can't think of a time I'm going to watch it, but also I know it's inevitable. I am going to watch it more than a dozen times. You know, I will watch it.
You've got to introduce Milo to it at some point.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Would I start with that, or would I start with Airplane? And I was also thinking when Tatton's talking about the other Naked Guns, I really haven't watched Hot Shots for a long time.
We've done Hot Shots recently. I've watched it with my 2 boys and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So it is, yeah.
Bodes well if it's a hit with young boys. That's the kind of marker for these films. If like young boys find them hilarious, then it's going to be good.
It's good.
Hot Shots and Airplane, yeah. I think.
I mean, Airplane's amazing.
Yeah, Airplane is the best. It's still the best, but it's still, Naked Gun is up there. Small screen score, Tatton.
I mean, it's a 5. Like it's the perfect. Like there's no apart from a couple of silo breasts. like there's no reason to not watch it on your smartphone. Let's say, I mean, my commute, Helen, is I work from home, so it's very brief indeed. But I do sometimes come home from London, having had a drink, and I would definitely watch this on my smartphone at that time.
Diane.
Yeah, I think it works. So I'll just go 4.5 because I think this would be very funny in a shared cinema environment. So 4.5 for watching it on your own.
Helen.
Yeah, I'm with you on the shared watching. Even just with one other person is quite fun. And you'll probably find that you're laughing at each other, laughing at the silliest things. So you just need one extra person all on your own. It's fine, right? Or your cat or your dog. Depends, if you're living on your own. I'm going to give it a 5. I only ever watched it on small screen. And it's just fun. It's just nice having access to it on Netflix and you can just cheer yourself up anytime you need to.
I'm going to go 4.75 again. I think I'd love to watch this at the Princess Charles Cinema with a crowd that knows it. I think that'd be a great way to spend night.
What about a triple bill? Would that be something you'd go
If the triple bill was Airplane, this, Hot Shots, I would absolutely love that. I'm not sure I'd do a triple bill. I'm pretty sure I saw this between a third in the cinema actually. I didn't see this in the cinema, but yeah.
God, but old.
One of the first things I went to on my own without my parents.
Was what? Sorry, this?
No, the 33 and the third.
Oh, okay.
Train Spotting was one of the first I remember going to.
Wow.
Intrepidly stealing my way in. This is a very different film to Train Spotting.
Yeah. Well, the first I saw without my parents was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. And I remember saying to my dad, can we go and watch it? And he was kind of like, I think you're old enough now, in a way that I don't want to watch this with you. So
yeah. I think
I was like, Dad, you're so cool.
Yeah. I think I got dropped off for one of the Home Alones. Not sure which one.
Yes.
And that was probably the first time I went in, just me and my friends.
Engagement Score. Tatton?
Well, the way engagement score is defined on the email that you sent is how difficult would it be for you to turn the film off once you started watching it? And on those terms, it's quite a low engagement score. I would easily switch this off because I don't care what happens next. I'm just enjoying the laugh, right? So if the Prime Minister resigns, it's coming off. Like if something happens, it's coming off. I'm picking it up again later, right? So I'm going to give it quite a low score. And all of this chat is me trying to justify giving a film that I absolutely love quite a low score. And I think what's at fault here is your metric, not the film. And I want to be clear on that, on Flixwatcher. This is on Flixwatcher, not on the film. And it's not my fault either. So, 2.
You could elaborate it. We like to explain it as also how easy is it to turn you away from the phone. You know, are you on Twitter at the same time? Can you be on Twitter at the same time as this? Diane?
Yes, you can. This is so much like, a stand-up routine. Lots of mini jokes, little scenes that it's quite easy, I think, to turn away, go and make a cup of tea, come back 5 minutes later, and you probably, you can just go with it and catch up with the rest of the film. So, but I'd say a 3.
Okay.
I'd say a 3.
Okay. Helen?
I was going to say, many have tried to fight the Flixwatcher scores, but they are what they are. They've ruined some classic films for having a low small screen, despite being some of the best films in the world, to be beaten by lesser great films. Yeah, it's one of those that you can have on and basically you could skip a bit, or you could come in from the pub if you still go to the pub in these times, and walk in halfway through and still enjoy it without having to watch from the start. But that said, there are like lots of visual stuff. So if you're only listening, you do want to be watching, because there's quite a lot of small visual gags here and there. But a 3.5, I think, for the amount of times I've seen it, I don't need to be 100% glued to it.
I was quite surprised on the highest. I'm going to go for 4.5 here. I think to get the most out of it, you want to be tuned in, because the visual gags, you can't just listen in. There's lots of stuff going on in the background, and because they are playing it straight ostensibly, they just go. You wouldn't notice them if you were just kind of second screening, I don't think. That gives us an overall score of 4.21875. That's about where I thought it was going to be. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, guys, do follow us, whoever's listening, on Twitter. We are at FlixWatcherPod, and the reason to follow us is because we put out a tweet before we record, and you can interact with us using these tweets. We put a tweet out like this: we're reviewing The Naked Gun with Tatton and Diane from Easy Politics UK, aka at Simple Politics on Instagram. Have you seen it? Tell us your thoughts and a score out of 5 stars for an on-air shout out on Flixwatcher. And as I thought, we got quite a big response from this one. Tatton, you want to pick one you like?
Well, it's one I'd like to run by you three. So Alex Elliott has said it's a bit dated now, but 80% of the jokes still hit. I love it. 4 stars. I'm really interested to know what you think about how dated it is.
I think one of the reasons I talked about the scary movie films and the Wayans Brothers spoofs is because I think it's still, a lot of it really hits. So it's at least 80%, as Alex Elliott says. I think some of the gags, like the squeezing that lady's breasts when he's on the window, I don't think that would happen now. But apart from that, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it still rang true.
I think the opening scene, I think as someone would struggle to name all of those political leaders these days. Like, I think that dates it.
Didn't they say their names?
Oh well, yeah. The first one, when he's in Beirut with the leaders, I think that is a very specific comedy moment when that was kind of like a joke. I don't think you'd be able to do that now with kind of world leaders.
You wouldn't have Putin there, would you, doing something?
No, but does that, if you knew who the world leaders were in that scene, then I don't think it's dated. Although you couldn't do it now. I think what is dated, and is clearly wouldn't be today, we wouldn't want it today, is when the police squad see the credit sequence when the blues and twos the cars driving through the road and the pavement, then suddenly it's, oh look, we're in a girls' changing room, that jarred. I thought today, I mean, alongside the groping the woman in the window, like, of all the comedy places you could have chosen, you've chosen to be somewhere you could put semi-naked women for literally no reason whatsoever.
It's an 80s trope, isn't it? It's just casual homophobia, casual sexism, casual racism is almost par for the course from 80s comedy, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe 80% of the jokes or hits works. Alex Elliott, on the nose.
Okay. Diane.
Okay, this is my favourite one from Lee Thomas. So he describes it as crass, juvenile, lowest common denominator comedy, and then says, I love it. And then he gives it 5 giant prophylactics out of 5. So we did talk about the safe sex scene. And there you go.
He's also used the "Hey, it's Enrico Pallazzo" gif as well. So
yes,
thank you for using that.
Star Twitter contributor.
By the way, isn't there a continued gag in the credits where it lists all the people who just have the one lines like, "Hey, it's Enrico Pallazzo," but with the way that Netflix isn't super fucking annoying and tries to force you into the next film straight away, I was like, is it this film or is it a different film? And then it did that, and I was like, I couldn't work out how to get it back without running through the whole film again, so I just didn't do it. But yeah, that's one of the gags that they do in some of the films, isn't it? List one-liners from the credits in the credits. So this guy would have a name in the credit when typically he wouldn't in any other film.
Oh, so great! I remember Charlie Brooker did a rant about how it was talking about the BBC rather than anyone else. It kind of cuts when you're just thanking people for helping out with the TV show, and then it cuts. They get hardly any money, but they get their name on telly, and it cuts to being like the next show coming up, and it moves the whole thing, and so no one can see it anymore. I quite like watching credits. It's quite nice to see all the people that worked on it. Well done, Lee.
Helen.
This one is from Stephen Lockeridge. Absolute classic. Possibly the funniest film of all time. The jokes, sight gags, and slapstick just don't stop coming. And he's done 5 laughing face emojis with tears coming out of their eyes.
Tatton.
Then we've got Steve EILFM podcast. 5 stars, one of the greatest comedy movies ever made. I enjoy the sequels as well, but this one is a laugh riot with a laughy cry face, but it's also about riots. And riots aren't cool, kids.
And one more, Diane, I can see at least.
Yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so we've got Scheitgeist again saying Leslie Nielsen and the Zucker brothers combine Gags, pratfalls, and wordplay like nobody else. Not quite Airplane, but still great, silly fun.
I don't think anything else will ever be Airplane. That's a certainty. That's a certainty in life. Taxes and Airplane. No one else will beat Airplane.
Is Airplane on Netflix?
It has been.
It has been. It's not at the moment, I don't think.
You've got a hankering for Airplane now, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a neat petition in the
Sure,
morning.
it must be like on ITV3 or something, or one of those channels.
How dare you say that kind of thing about a good film? What a
It's
terrible
good because it's on all the
aspersion.
time, because it's just there and any time you need it on rotation.
You can lean into Airplay. Diane, Tatton, thank you very much for joining us. Can you say where we can find you online and say goodbye to the listeners?
Yes, you can find Simple Politics at Simple Politics on Instagram. It'd be great if you could give us a follow and have a look at what we do. And we do a regular podcast as well, if you'd like to listen.
The host of our podcast is nearly as good as the host of this podcast.
Nearly.
In fact, no, better, because it's recorded earlier in the morning when he is slightly more awake and just generally better than he is now.
Kobe's 100% all of the time.
I'm not sure that's the case. Got my leg in a knee brace at the moment. Anyway, thank you very much, guys, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for bringing Naked Gun to us and the listeners.
Thanks
so
having
much
us.
for coming
Ciao.
on.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.
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 Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.